The documentaries, fictional stories, and poems on this channel contain mature themes including psychological horror, violence, death, self-harm, mental health crises, and other disturbing subject matter. If you're sensitive to dark content, this may not be for you. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Greetings, weary travelers. I am the Howlerist. I'm so glad you've stumbled on my channel, where comfortable lies end, yet uncomfortable truths begin. What follows will challenge everything you think you know about the sounds of space. Stay until the end for an original horror poem, born from my own twisted imagination. If you can handle that, why not subscribe, join the pack, and leave your mark below. In the meantime, some truths don't wait for permission to be heard. The silent deception of the cosmos. For millennia, humanity believed in a silent cosmos, a vast, cold, and beautiful void where no sound could travel. This belief was not merely a physical fact, it was a philosophical comfort. The great thinkers of old, from the ancient Greeks to the Renaissance astronomers, spoke of a grand, silent harmony, a music of the spheres. They envisioned a universe of elegant, perfect order, where planets and stars moved in a voiceless ballet. This was the first deception. The truth is, the silence you perceive is just a wall. Our ears, our very biology, cannot register the terrifying, unseen energies that writhe and groan between the stars. Sound, as we know it, requires matter to vibrate through: air, water, solid ground. In the vacuum of space, there are no molecules dense enough to carry what we would call sound. But that doesn't mean the universe is quiet. It means we are deaf. We have been blind and deaf to the truth of the cosmos, accepting a silent, empty canvas in place of a raw, churning reality. And now, armed with technology that can translate what we cannot hear, we are finally listening. But are we hearing the truth? Or just another lie we've designed to keep ourselves sane? The second deception. Even the images you think you know are lies. The breathtaking colors of a nebula, the pillars of creation, the Carina Nebula, the swirling arms of the Andromeda Galaxy. They don't exist, not as you see them. The raw data we receive from our most powerful telescopes, Hubble, James Webb, Chandra, is monochrome. A pure data-driven reality of invisible wavelengths, infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray. Our eyes are useless in the face of the cosmos. We see only a thin sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, a fraction of what's really out there. It is we, the human interpreters, who add the color. Infrared becomes red. X-rays become blue. Hydrogen emissions become green. We turn flat, mathematical reality into a canvas of beautiful lies, a visual deception we all willingly agree to believe. These aren't arbitrary choices. They're designed to be pleasing, to inspire awe, to make the universe seem wondrous rather than hostile. The famous pillars of creation image? In reality, those pillars are clouds of freezing gas and dust, being torn apart by radiation from newborn stars. The image is gorgeous. The reality is violent destruction on a scale we can barely comprehend. If we so readily deceive ourselves with our sight, why would we ever trust what we are made to hear? A simple horror. We have been translating the invisible universe for a long time. For over a century, scientists have used a device called a Geiger counter. It's a simple, chilling machine. When radiation, an energy we cannot see, feel, smell, or taste, passes through it, it produces an unnerving click. That click is not the sound of radiation. Radiation makes no sound. The click is the sound of a wire inside the device being ionized, an electrical pulse converted into an audible warning. A human-made proxy for a silent killer. A truth we could not perceive, given a voice we could understand. Listen to a Geiger counter near a mild source. Tick, tick, tick. Slow, almost rhythmic, harmless. But bring it near something lethal, a sample of cobalt-60, a fragment of depleted uranium, the contaminated soil of Chernobyl, and the clicks become a frantic, deafening chatter, a scream in Morse code. The closer you get to death, the louder it screams. Is that the sound of danger? Or just the sound we've agreed means danger? The modern practice of astronomical sonification is simply a more complex and elegant Geiger counter. We are taking invisible data, electromagnetic waves, plasma fluctuations, gravitational distortions, and converting them into sound. Not because the universe is making that sound, but because we need it to. The Voyager's whisper. It began in the late 1970s with the Voyager 1 spacecraft. Launched in 1977, it was designed to tour the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and their moons. But it also carried instruments to measure something far stranger: plasma waves. Plasma is the fourth state of matter, a superheated gas where electrons are stripped from atoms, creating a sea of charged particles. In the vacuum of space, plasma doesn't move like wind or water. It oscillates. It vibrates in electromagnetic waves at frequencies far below what human ears can detect. In 1979, Voyager 1 recorded plasma wave data as it passed through Jupiter's magnetosphere, a region of space dominated by the planet's powerful magnetic field. Scientists at the University of Iowa took that data and ran it through a process called Sonification. They sped up the frequencies, compressed them, and converted them into audible sound. What came out was unsettling. It wasn't the majestic hum you might expect from the largest planet in our solar system. It was a series of strange, otherworldly whistles, rising and falling tones that sounded almost organic, like something breathing, like something alive. NASA released the recordings to the public, calling them the sounds of Jupiter. But that's not what they were. They were electromagnetic oscillations, translated through human technology, filtered through human choices. Jupiter makes no sound. What you heard was an interpretation, a story we told ourselves about Jupiter. And it gets stranger. In 2012, Voyager 1 crossed the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends and true interstellar space begins. It recorded more plasma waves. When scientists converted them to sound, they heard a low, droning hum, unchanging, eternal, the so-called sound of interstellar space. But is that really what's out there? Or is it just what we chose to hear? The Art of the Uncanny. Sonification is not a neutral act. It's a meticulously designed act of interpretation, full of subjective, artistic choices. A scientist may choose to represent a star's brightness by the volume of a tone. They may map a galaxy's location in space to the pitch of a note on a musical scale. They may decide that high-energy X-rays should sound sharp and piercing, while low-frequency radio waves should sound deep and ominous. These are aesthetic decisions, not scientific ones. Take the heart of a black hole. In 2003, NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory studied the Perseus galaxy cluster, 250 million light-years away. At its center is a supermassive black hole, and surrounding it is a vast cloud of superheated gas. The black hole's gravity creates pressure waves in that gas, ripples of compression and expansion. But these are not sound waves in any conventional sense. They oscillate at a frequency of one wave every 10 million years. That's 57 octaves below middle C on a piano. A human would have to live for over 10 million years to hear a single, complete wave. Yet, when a scientist takes that raw data and pitch shifts it up by 57 octaves, speeding it up by a factor of 144 quadrillion, it becomes a menacing, deep hum, a sound that feels ancient, malevolent. But that's not the sound of the black hole. That's the sound a human decided a black hole should make. In 2022, NASA released a sonification of the heart of the Milky Way. They combined data from 3 telescopes, Chandra, Hubble, and Spitzer, and assigned each wavelength a different instrument. X-rays became strings. Visible light became woodwinds. Infrared became brass. The result was eerie, beautiful even, a cosmic symphony. But it wasn't real. It was a composition, a piece of art masquerading as fact. When you listen to the sounds of space, are you hearing the universe? Or are you hearing a human-made soundtrack designed to make the incomprehensible feel familiar? The fragility of fact. What we have accepted as the sound of the cosmos is a consensus, a scientific agreement based on shared technology, shared methodology, and a communal desire for a coherent narrative. But this consensus is built on a foundation of shifting sand. History is a graveyard of abandoned truths. For over 1,400 years, we believed the Earth was the center of the universe. Ptolemy's geocentric model wasn't just a theory. It was fact, supported by mathematics, observations, and the weight of religious authority. When Copernicus suggested the sun was at the center, he was ridiculed. When Galileo defended heliocentrism, he was tried for heresy. And yet they were right. The facts of 1,400 years of astronomy were wrong. In the 19th century, scientists believed space was filled with an invisible substance called luminiferous ether, a medium through which light waves traveled. Experiments were designed to detect it. Theories were built around it. It was accepted fact, until the Michelson-Morley experiment in 1887 proved it didn't exist. Even Einstein's theory of relativity, one of the most rigorously tested theories in history, may one day be replaced by something deeper, stranger. Quantum mechanics already contradicts it at the smallest scales. What we call truth is just the best story we can tell with our current tools. This is the central dread of our situation. We have listened to a curated, manufactured truth, and we have accepted it as reality. We have created a comforting, palatable narrative for the universe, a universe that hums and whistles and drones in ways that feel almost musical. But what if our consensus is not just incomplete, but a lie we all agree to believe, to shield ourselves from a universe that is truly, incomprehensibly alien? The unheard sound. There are sounds we have chosen not to share. Data sets deemed too chaotic. Frequencies that, when converted to audio, produce nothing but static, or worse, patterns that shouldn't exist. In the 1960s, radio astronomers discovered pulsars, rapidly rotating neutron stars that emit beams of radio waves. The first pulsar, discovered by Jocelyn Bell Burnell, pulsed so regularly, once every 1.33 seconds, that the research team briefly considered the possibility it was an artificial signal. They even nicknamed it LGM1, Little Green Men 1. It wasn't aliens. It was a natural phenomenon, but the regularity was unsettling. In 1977, the Big Ear Radio Telescope in Ohio detected a powerful narrowband radio signal from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It lasted 72 seconds. It was so unusual that astronomer Jerry Amon wrote "Wow" in the margins of the printout. It has never been detected again. We don't know what it was. We've tried to explain it as a comet, a satellite, interstellar interference, but we don't know. And that terrifies us. So, we file it away. We move on. We listen to the sounds we've chosen to hear and ignore the ones that don't fit our narrative. The universe, in its rawest form, is not a grand humming symphony. It's a terrifying alien roar. And our beautiful man-made melodies of the cosmos may be nothing more than the sound of a desperate lie. A lie we tell ourselves not out of ignorance, but out of necessity. The translations, the pitch shifts, the careful selection of what we sonify and what we discard, these aren't just acts of interpretation. They're acts of protection. A filter between us and something we were never meant to comprehend. The silence of space isn't a void. It's a mercy. And the one thing we should never do is listen to what's really out there. To hear the universe as it truly is, raw, unfiltered, incomprehensible, might not enlighten us. It might destroy us. Final transmission. A brilliant man of science with a respectable career, honored as a leader in his field. A lifetime spent researching the vastness of the void, interpreting the secrets it would yield. Early days of space discovery, when humans left the Earth. These journeys filled us all with fear and awe, but quietly in his lab, he would decode and analyze, exposing every attribute and flaw. So many things we do not know and cannot understand. Into his mind, more knowledge he would cram. Barraged with information throughout his history long, for all humanity, the goal for his exam. Whilst we have not a chance of comprehending what is found, many others in his field all share his aim. They're tasked to make a version we can get our heads around, interpret, give it meaning, and a name. One day, his evaluation task was so unique. Anomalies he'd never seen before. Strange data from a distant star had all his senses piqued. Evidence he was unable to ignore. He was seeing patterns emitting like a flare, pressure waves that hurtled through the dark. An ancient hidden message that we never knew was there, presented clearly to him, bleak and stark. These audible predictions he had guided with his hands, believing his interpretations true. A dire, unearthly warning, he could hear it, plain as day, though others never made the same review. The more he concentrated all his efforts to decode, the more a paranoia took a hold. Eventually, he all-consumed. There was no other way. He knew now, all the others must be told. Developing a plan to share discoveries he'd made. For many days, collecting tools required. Finally, a weapon that felt foreign in his hand, prepared to lose his life if so required. A television interview, live on the evening news. Promptly he arrived to rendezvous. As the host had introduced him, he calmly raised his hand. "Do exactly what I say to do." "I'm afraid I bear the worst of news. I have it written down. It's something you must broadcast here tonight. For if you don't convince your viewers of this warning that I bring, our extinction, undeniably our plight." The reporter, although terrified, reached out to take the note, faced the camera, then began to read. And though the text fantastical made seemingly no sense, an armed captor, a persuasive case indeed. This man of science sat calmly as his prisoner spoke on, believing he about to save us all. For the horrifying warning he'd deciphered made it clear, and chances for survival now were small. Finishing the script at last, the anchorman was calm. He asked if there were any more demands. He knew grasp on reality for this poor soul had slipped, but he was hoping to befriend and help this man. "There's nothing you can do for me. My mission has been done." Then he slowly placed his weapon on the ground. He had barely raised his hands up as staff pressed him to the floor, and security and police all gathered round. Over coming days, the full extent of illness was revealed. The very sounds this man had studied long, these alien enigmas of flutter waves and tones, caused so much damage, his cognition almost gone. Yet not a word was spoken of this brilliant scientist's plight. The work he pioneered continues still, decoding years of data, trying hard to make things fit, disregarding that perhaps some never will. The letter he had written had never gone to air. The station cut the broadcast straight away, biding time till opportunity for seizing back control. So his warning had reached nobody that day. And what was in that letter? What had he tried to share? From a damaged brain, just gibberish absurd. A deathly warning. There are some things we can never understand. There's a reason that some things remain unheard.